to hear about a photographer that made the jump from corporate America to pursue happiness. Ludwig Araujo is up next. Hey, Ludwig, welcome to the call. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So we're going to dive right into it. I want to be respectful of your time. So to provide some context for the listeners, tell us your story. Tell us who you are.
My name is Ludwig, and I was a corporate man for like 20 years.
I'm sorry.
Tell me about it. Right out of college, went into the corporate life. Actually, a little bit of retail, then corporate. And it transitioned that into, while I was working, I developed a passion for photography, and kind of taught myself how to take pictures, and kind of grew that through the use of social media.
Yep.
And got to the point where, like, about 2 or 3 years ago, I was able to kind of leave that job and take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
And pursue what had grown from my photography full time. And so I'm one of those people that, you always want, when you're working in a job that you kind of like, but you're not passionate about,
For sure.
you kind of worry about whether or not, hey, can I leave this? Can I make that leap?
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that was able to do that and kind of make that leap, even though it was something that was scary at the time,
Oh, it always is. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Continue.
And so I was able to make that leap and transition that. So with photography, that grew into learning social media, knowing and meeting people, and then and now I do social media influencer management. And so it's one of those things that just kind of kept evolving, and that's where I am now.
No, I love it. And so jumping into the corporate world, because you did what a lot of people are very fearful of doing, or so they almost kind of shoved down just the idea of that possibility happening for them, because you get comfortable, right? And you get your corporate check, and I know, okay, every 2 weeks or twice a month or whatever, I get my comfortable little 3 weeks of vacation a year, and don't mess with my benefits.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
it's like it's a big thing, but it's like you realize you're paying for the benefits.
You are.
You are. And so, because corporate America, it's a machine to make the guys at the top, or the shareholders or whoever it is, a lot of money, not you.
Yes.
Understand the situation you're in. So if there's a passion, when did you realize that this passion was worth pursuing? Because there's some people with a passion, and let's just leave it as that's just going to be a really good hobby for you because you don't have the skill set behind it, but you obviously have the skill set behind it. So
that's a very good question. It's funny, man, because when I started shooting photography, it was I started in corporate America in 2000, 2001. And then it wasn't until my daughter was born that I picked up the camera for the first time, and that was in 2008. It wasn't until about 2012, 2013, where I started thinking to myself, at some point, one of these is going to have to give. Yeah. I don't know when that is, but one of these is going to have to give. And the more I started doing my thing with photography, the more my corporate job, I started to feel like I was suffocated, and I felt replaceable. There's something to be said for the ability to show up somewhere and start making your own money. Do you know what I mean? Like if I dropped you, like if I was to be dropped in the middle of Kansas with a camera in my hand, I can make money.
Yep.
Whereas like being a number in corporate America, they can kind of like there's no skill set to it. There wasn't anything that proprietary, right, to what I've offered, and I was expendable. So I felt that way, and then that just kept growing. So I would say around 2016 or so. So now what is it? I mean, I was 16 years into this corporate life.
Yep.
Was kind of when I started to really say I can't do both. I got to follow my passion.
Nice. And then how scary of a jump was that? Because I think a lot of people, they might get there, they might start pursuing their passion, but then actually taking the leap, making the jump and overcoming that fear, because that's a big nut to swallow.
It's even bigger when you're married with 3 kids.
For sure. Right? Yeah.
So to answer your question, how big was that? How scary? It was the scariest thing I've ever done. And even to the point where, like, after the decision was made, there was a long period of time where I was in my head.
Yeah.
Right. You're questioning what you did. Was it the right decision? And then it's that constant self-talk of, hey, listen, this is for the best. Remember why you did this. Like today, I look back at that period of time and I say to myself, and I look back even to the corporate years, right? And I say to myself, that's how I stay positive. When I look back at those times, I'm like, I would much rather be doing what I'm doing now, talking to you, than being back in the office, answering to some guy that really doesn't know what he's doing or talking about. You know what I mean? And that's my boss.
Yeah, he just had a little more. He just had a fancier resume or knew somebody.
Right? A fancier resume, I doubt it. It's more about, and that's the whole thing with the corporate game. You start to realize that, okay, I can move up, but I really got to do some butt kissing, right? I really got to do all that labor, and that's kind of not how I'm built. So
yeah, and it's one of those things. It's like, when people say I'm so committed to my job and they work for like some big corporation, right? It's like, you do realize you're just an entry on a spreadsheet. You're a number on a spreadsheet. Like, if that number goes lower than they are happy with, they will replace the entry on the spreadsheet, i.e. you is out of a job.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what happens, right? So corporations merge.
Yep.
Jobs get, become redundant. Yep. Oh, there's like 3 people doing the same job. You cut 2 people.
Exactly.
And you're a casualty at that point.
Yeah.
So
once you kind of, you're on your own, you got, your better half, you got your kids, you've got the family, and now it's all on me. And then, so really, how did you build yourself from there? Because you obviously had a little book of business. You had some clients, because you're not going to just jump cold turkey with nothing to land on, right? So you built it up. And so how did you really use all of that extra time, that extra 40, 50 hours a week that you're not giving to corporate America, to maximize your potential to grow it into what it is now?
So that's a great question. And so what happens is you immediately realize, like I said, there was a few months of in my feelings, in my head. And then you start to realize that, you've developed a network over these years. And now you got to start relying on that network. And so it became a game of where I used to work in the corporate America, pencil pushing and people are giving me orders. Now I'm the one out there reaching out, trying to land bigger networks and work all the contacts that I had for business. And through that process, I wound up meeting more people, getting more clients, getting more business, and then eventually it turned into establishing what I do now, which is the influencer marketing, because I knew so many people, and I've done content creation for so long on the social side that it was just a natural next step to transition that into, hey, listen, you work, you have X amount of followers. I work with so many brands. Yeah. Maybe we can partner you guys up and make some money this way. And that took off.
And so how important is it for people that they don't understand how valuable building relationships is?
What do they say? Your network is your net worth.
Yep.
Have you heard that one?
Absolutely.
I think, I feel like it's something that I didn't really take to heart in the beginning. I didn't realize it up until maybe like the last year or two, how important that is to be out there meeting people, getting names, establishing relationships. And the other thing is we all have contacts. Like if you went into your phone book and you scroll down, you'd see names that you haven't talked to for people for years. And so So the idea is connect and contact those people all the time.
Yep.
Even if you're just saying, hey, or how's it going? How have you been? I know it's been a while. Even if you have nothing to offer them or not looking for anything from them, the idea is that you're staying in touch and maybe something does pop off, something does come up. And so to answer your question, it's everything. If I was to sit, like if you were to sit in your office and never speak to anyone, never connect with anyone, and just kind of do what you do, you would meet a lot less people. You'd make a lot less connections. You'd make a lot less money.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
They're not going to bring you on that project. It's like, why? It's like, because you might not be the most talented person, but if I like working with you and I know I'm going to get along with you, guess who I'm going to want on the project with me?
Yeah.
The guy I know I can work with. Yeah.
If you're on top of the mind, like if you might be the right guy for the job, but somebody else is rubbing shoulders with them, they're going to hire that guy because he's connecting with them. You're keeping to yourself. So it's so critical, man. The networking game. It's more important than nowadays. It's more important than probably anything.
Oh, absolutely. And so, like during the process of creating this network, which you started with business connections and things of that sort, right? When did you really dial it in? Because a lot of your stuff is now in fitness, correct?
Yes.
And so when did you really kind of, instead of, because for photography, I don't know a lot about it. I appreciate all of it because it's just like I wish I had that eye, but I don't. But when you take the picture, I'm just like, wow, that's cool. That's like how do they do this? Obviously, like the shutter speed and the lighting and all of this stuff. I'm like, sure, I know the lingo. I don't know how to apply it though. Right. But so when did you do that? Like, it's not landscape, it's not weddings, it's not this, and you're like, you've really dialed it in the fitness, and like, I know how to get someone's physique to just pop in a picture and still look good versus like standing on the stage being like,
yeah, right. That's a great question. So if you go back to when I started taking pictures and when my daughter was born, I was taking pictures of babies. My daughter, so
naturally
I was learning the camera, and I realized that my photos of my daughter looked horrible compared to what like the Ann Getty's babies images look like on those beautiful baby portraits where they're like in a flower or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like,
it's like, how are you getting the baby to do that? Like,
yeah, exactly. Mine does not look anything like that. And so that curiosity kind of led me down the road. And so over the next, I would say between '08 and probably 2012, I did everything.
Okay.
I shot everything. I took my camera and I did landscape. I went to nightclubs and I did the nightclub photography thing. I did fashion in the streets of friends. I would say, hey, throw on a suit. Let's go down to the city and take some photos. Someone started a clothing line, and I went and shot some photos for her clothing line and some fashion stuff. I did everything I could, either A, to learn my camera, and kind of B, to see what I gravitated towards. And what I did quickly realize is that I wasn't the type of photographer that was going to go in the middle of New York City and shoot the buildings. Like, I had no desire to do that.
Okay.
What I liked shooting were people. I like being in front of people and capturing them and making them look cool. Like, at the end of the day, the essence for me was, I want to make you look badass. Whether it's in a suit or whether you're in your wedding dress, I wanted you to make you look cool.
Yeah. And
then eventually, somehow, it was almost on accident. A friend was like, hey, I'm competing in a competition, in a fitness competition. Can you take some photos of me? And I went into the gym. I bought some cheap lights. I shot pictures of her. And I was like, oh, okay, there's something here, And I started sharing these images on social. And then one by one, people would ask me to shoot them. And it just kind of blew up from there. And it wasn't intentional that I got into like the fitness niche.
It just organically happened.
It just organically happened. And again, the same idea was, if you look at my imagery, I always say like badass or hardcore. Like, I've always tried to make make my subjects look cool. Like, that was always and I guess maybe I'm influenced by like comic books growing up or TV, movies that I watch. But
Yeah.
That whole idea of just making someone look tough and badass was always the goal of my images, and that was the perfect venue for it, right? Fitness. What's better than that?
Because they're either working out, looking like a badass, or they're pumping weights, looking like a badass, or they're
looking tough,
or they're freaking like flexing all their muscles, looking like a badass. It's like, hey, we vibe. I get it. Like, you understand what I'm trying to do here.
It was a perfect marriage, and like I said, it was unintentional, but it was a beautiful thing because quickly I realized that I had a passion for it. I was excited to shoot. I was excited to capture people, and so people wanted me.
Yeah. So how important do you think it is for someone pursuing their craft, whether it's photography, whether it's some sort of form of art, whether it's music, whether it's business, whatever it is, whether it's making clothes, to not force things and just really let things happen, but you have to be intentional on getting them to happen. Like, you have to be intentional on, like, making sure I'm the one networking, I'm the one going out and building relationships, I'm the one offering my service for free.
Yeah.
While I earn my stripes, kind of a thing.
The question is, how important is it?
You can't force it, and just be patient and let it, because, I mean, this didn't just happen the day you left your corporate job.
No.
This is how, that
took it's always interesting when you talk to people, right? And I'm sure I'm sure all the people you've interviewed, you've seen this, is that once you get to meet somebody that is in the quote unquote limelight and you talk to them, then you realize, oh, wow, they were doing something 20 years, 15 years ago. They've been doing this for 10 years.
Absolutely.
Before I even heard their name.
Like, everybody, right? Like, everybody's like, the overnight success. Oh, they came out of nowhere. It's like, no, they didn't.
No.
They've been working at this for 10, 15 years to become an overnight success.
Yes. And so that's everything. I feel like they say in photography, your first 10,000 pictures are your worst. And there's this the ideology being that you got to take a lot of pictures before you should even consider even trying to call this a career.
Uh-huh. And
so I took that to heart in the early days, and so I did everything. And like I said, I mean, I remember being in the nightclub at like 2:00 in the morning. Now, not that I don't like nightclubs, but man, I didn't want to be in a nightclub at 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's a whole other world.
I had two babies at home. I had my daughter that I kind of started shooting, and then we had another baby girl. So at this point in my life, I'm doing this. I'm working a corporate job. I'm working at 2:00 in the morning, taking nightclub photos. I'm really stretching myself.
Yeah.
But I'm really putting in the hours, and so like the idea that you're going to show up with your skill set and start making money and be an overnight success, that's one in a zillion, right? Like, yeah. I mean, that doesn't happen. You got to put in the work. You got to know that you're good, right? You got to know that your work stands on its own 2 feet. In order to do that, it's years.
Yeah,
it's years of developing that passion and honing your skill.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people they get so caught up with social media, and they think everything they see is real. And it's like, you realize people are showing you what they want you. You're meeting their representative.
Yeah, of course.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like going on a first date. It's like, that's not who you're dating. That's their representative.
Nope. That's their finest.
That is the best version that you ever gonna see. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, why? Because he's trying to front. He's like, she's trying to front. She's trying, like, whatever it is. It's like, I want to make sure this person likes me before they see every skeleton in the closet.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because they might run for the hills. But it's right. Like, people don't want to pay their dues. And, I think it's one of those things that just people need to share more of that, which is why I ask these kinds of questions, is because people need to hear it. They need to hear that you're not going to just hit it. Like, you want to have that opportunity that's just going to change your life. Guess what? You still need to be ready when that opportunity comes knocking.
Yes. And in order to be ready, you have to develop that skill set to that point. So, luck is when chance meets opportunity, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
something might come up, but you might not be ready because you didn't put in your time.
Yep.
And that opportunity just passed you by, and you're not lucky.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and to the point about like how people are nowadays are like, you know, instant success. They think they're gonna buy a camera and all of a sudden be, you know, the next great thing. Like it doesn't happen that way. And I think more people are kind of falling into that mindset for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because social media has made it easy, like, to share images and photography. But the idea that there's overnight success is I think we need to start talking more about the hard work, the years, the amount of time that goes into being successful.
Yeah, and you know, like when the young person comes and says like, "Oh, I'm just gonna blow up," and it's like, okay, well, come see me in 10 years, and we'll.
Right.
Yes,
right.
I want fries with that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like don't put the cart before the horse, man.
No.
You know,
No,
it's like
and-
you gotta pay.
and
You
I
gotta
feel
pay
like-
your dues. Nothing happens. Nothing happens that quickly. If it happened that quickly, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And
100%.
you better stop because you're probably gonna end up in jail.
Yeah. 100%.
It's like I don't know anybody that made that much money that fast, unless it was illegal.
Right.
It's like, sure, it's working. I appreciate the hustle, but I ain't part of it.
There are no shortcuts.
Yeah,
There are
you
no
know,
shortcuts.
there's no shortcut to success. You know, and so in the process of you mastering your craft, in putting in the hours, putting in the work ethic, you know, building up your network, and you know, creating the relationships. When did this happen with Paige?
So
Because that's probably a big pivot point in your
it's kind of a big
career.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
Paige Hathaway. That's all. You know.
So, funny thing is, I met Paige in 2012
Okay.
when she was with a supplement company. Who's the owner? I knew him, and this is right around the time I started shooting fitness.
Okay.
It just so happened that I was shooting fitness, and he started a supplement company, and I would shoot the content for his supplement company.
Okay.
So I would shoot a lot of the athletes. Paige was one of those athletes. At the time, not just to date myself, at the time she had like 50,000 followers. Now she's over 4 million. But at the time she had like 50,000. And that was insane at that point, right?
Yeah.
Instagram. And so shot her. We connected. She was cool. I shot her a few times after that over the years. She's from Oklahoma. She moved to California. But we stayed in touch.
Okay.
And then one time I was doing some photography. Actually, I had left my corporate job. I was doing some photography in Miami. She happened to be in Miami for something else. Had lunch. And then we just got to talking about the future of her career, where she was at that moment. And I kind of was like, hey, listen, what can I do to help you? And that question, what can I do to help you, is something I don't think people ask enough anymore. When I was coming up and I wanted to learn photography, I shadowed another photographer.
Yeah.
I didn't ask them for information on how I could become a photographer. I went to her and said, "Hey, Chia, how can I help you? I want to assist on a photo shoot. I want to follow you and learn." And so I still have that kind of mindset. Like, how can I help you? How can I better or add value to you?
Yeah.
And that was my question to Paige, and she had some answers for me that I was like, all right, let's put a plan in place and work together. And then that transitioned into me being her manager.
Okay.
Because there was an opportunity to step into that role and take on all the business that she gets. So it's something that happened organically. It wasn't forced, but it was a good thing that I had been in this industry. I had made so many contacts that is just a natural progression for me. You know, it was something that could take me to the next level, so to speak.
And it all happened with all the topics that we really covered. It's build your relationships, don't burn bridges.
Don't burn bridges.
You know, put in the work. You know, work for free, build your craft, get good at it. You know, help people out, and so you're helping out a buddy who was in fitness, and now he's starting his supplements. And so
Yes.
you're helping him with that. And along
Shooting for
comes
free.
Paige, you're shooting for free, and then along comes Paige, like, hey, sure, I'll shoot you. And then you just stay in touch, so you maintain the relationship.
Yes.
And now you're managing one of the biggest names in the game.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And
no, but you're not supposed to do that. That doesn't happen. You're just supposed to be working in corporate America, sitting at your desk.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to leave. You're not supposed to pursue happiness, says society. But yet, here sits Ludwig, who is defying that.
Yeah,
you know,
it's crazy talking to you because I don't tell my story very often, right? So as you
I'm gonna dive all into the story. Like everybody's like, oh, talk about everything that happened. Talk about all the good stuff. It's like, no, I want people need to hear the story because that's the goal of the podcast. The goal of the podcast is to share so many stories from so many different people that nobody can ever use the excuse of why they can't.
Yeah.
So whether it's photography, whether it's business, whether it's becoming multimillionaires, great. I got them on the line. Whether it's I'm a single mom and an amputee, great. Got her on a call. What's your excuse? I suffered from domestic violence. Great. Got a bunch of those. What's your excuse?
Yeah.
You know, so it's like the more it's just sharing people's stories because they need to hear it because
they do.
They're sugarcoat. They're talking themselves out of it. So I'm giving them the reasons to talk themselves back into it. Because, like, you can't tell me you can't do that. Like, oh, I don't have the right connections. Really? Neither did him. Neither did he. Yeah. He was sitting in a desk in corporate America, and he just picked up a camera, and he was already an adult. Funny thing how that happened.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you think about like, when you're young and what you want to be when you grow up, I'm nowhere near. First of all, going into college, I had no idea what I wanted to be. When I left college, I had really no idea what I wanted to be.
Uh-huh.
When I was in the corporate America, I thought I wanted to be the CEO.
Keep climbing the ladder, right? Yeah.
That was my initial, leadership.
Then you realize, like, whoa, that guy got way more BS to deal with than I do. Because he's not answering
closer to the sun.
Yeah, because he's answering to employees and he's answering to shareholders.
The scariest place to be in corporate America is in middle management, where you have to manage people. Which I did.
Yeah.
And then you have the big wigs up above telling you what to do. So you really have no say.
Rolls downhill.
It all rolls downhill. And you have no say, right? Like, you don't have your own thoughts. Your thoughts are the corporation's thoughts and what they tell you to say. And so, I've been there in that place. And never did I think, when I was climbing the ladder, never did I think that I would be here where I am today. And 27 times happier than I was when I was there. Like, I thought that was it. I thought that, and as you say, like, I'm 41, and to think that I'm embarking on a new career at this age, you wouldn't have sold me that.
So I love it. So you're 41 now. How old were you when you first picked up the camera to actually to kind of really start shooting? So 2008.
30. 30. What am I doing the math right?
41, 2008. Yeah. So you're about 30.
Yeah,
and
about 30 years old.
So you're 30 years old, and according to society, you're already supposed to have your life figured out by 30. And so why are you changing careers, leaving corporate America and the safety net to start this passion project? Are you suicidal? Like, do you want your wife to leave you? Blah 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 blah. But people need to understand that, like, that's not how the world works. Like, if you pursue your passion, people don't put happiness on a pedestal.
Yeah.
I think that's what they need to do is we need to start putting happiness back on the pedestal because people are getting their brains twisted by what society's telling them.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know if I could have said it better myself. The answer to how is it that this 30-year-old guy who should be knee-deep in his corporate career, how did he change lanes 10 years later? The answer is happiness, right?
Yep.
And sometimes you don't realize it. There's plenty of people that have reached out to me and have said, man, I wish I could kind of get out of this dead-end job. I don't have either the strength, the power, the know-how, or like, I don't want to take the risk. But to understand that, what the feeling, like how happy I was after the fact. You don't realize what a cage gorilla you are.
Yeah.
Till you get out of that cage and you're like, oh wow, I was in a cage this whole time.
Yep.
Like the sense of I guess the sense of happiness, the sense of liberty, kind of freedom, that you're not kind of like restricted anymore. People don't realize that exists outside of the corporate world. And so, listen, obviously there are people out there that are always going to want to keep their day job and like what they do. And if you love and you're happy, go for it. Continue to do
absolutely. If you're happy being a doctor, great, be a doctor. We need them. You know?
We need them. 100%. And I'm going to need them now that I'm 41 more than ever.
Right.
But yeah, to that point, like if you're happy, cool. But if you're not,
you gotta figure it out.
You got to figure it out. Find out what makes you happy, and don't be afraid of the risk. One of the things that I love too that's happening nowadays is that people are doing multiple things. Yeah. So, I mean, you see this in, rapper like Kanye is as an example. He's not only a musician, but now he's like a world-class fashion icon. So, right, and now he might be delving into other things.
And I think he's the Yeezys, right? That's him too.
Sneakers.
Yeah, so he's in the shoe game too.
He's in the shoe game. So there are people at all stages of life now that are doing multiple different things. You could be a DJ, and you could be a restaurant owner at the same time.
Yep.
And as long as you're passionate about those things and those things make you happy, go for it.
Yeah.
And so in other words, and I say that to say that people kind of like, hey, I might not be able to lose my day job because it pays the bills. Cool. Hey, there might be multiple things that you might have to piece together an income.
Yep.
Right? You might have to be a graphic designer, and you got to be the photographer, and you might have a part-time job doing something else.
Yeah, I think Jim Rohn.
You're happier.
Yeah, I think Jim Rohn said it is that you work full-time on your income and you work part-time on your fortune. Yes. Like you work your day job, you pay your bills, and you do what you got to do. But outside of that 9 to 5, you still got 16 more hours, 15 more hours? Well, however long your day is. Like, okay, you got to sleep 8 of those hours. Okay, great. You still got 8 hours. Yeah. Oh, I got to spend time with my family. Okay, so spend 2 hours with your family. You still got 6 hours.
Yeah.
Well, I'm driving for 2 hours. Okay, you still got 4 hours.
Yeah.
But I need to wind down. Okay, watch Netflix for an hour. You still got 3 hours. What's your excuse?
Yeah.
Like you don't gotta binge watch that show every night.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like,
and you've watched all the episodes already. So
yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you finish. Fine, I need to finish the season. Okay, finish the season. So what are you doing this weekend? Like, you know what I mean. People they want to live that baller life, right? Because that's what social media is telling them they need. They need to They need to live this baller life. Oh, I need the private jets. You realize the guys that own the private jets are doing about 50 different projects at a time.
Yeah.
You realize they're working 100+ hours a week.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and you see them on the jet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you see them on the jet, but they're happy doing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like Gary Vee, right? So Gary Vee, like he loves like the entrepreneur game.
Right.
Like he starts businesses just for fun, and I'm like, dude, like I get it. Like, do it. What? But because he's chasing happy. For you, like if you could shoot, like if you got your balance right, it would be very unhappy for you if you had to shoot 20 hours a day. No
breaks. Yeah.
No breaks, no questions. Like, no, this is all you're doing. But now it's like, no, because you made that sacrifice to do the corporate America, get good at photography. Do corporate America, get good at photography. Now I got to network in photography. Well, I'm making some good money with photography. So now why am I doing corporate America? Now I can go all in photography. But that how many years was that before you left? So you started at 30 and you left at what
age? So it's 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
See? So that's 8, 9 years. So he spent 8, 9 years. You spent 8, 9 years double dipping, mastering your craft to blow up. And then so once you made that jump, how crazy has life been over the following 2 to 3 years?
It's been a whirlwind. So not only did we talk about the in my head period of life, so that was kind of a low, right? Because you're questioning constantly, and wondering if you made the right decision. Now, remember, you leave corporate America, and as you talked about, now we're talking about benefits for the kids, all those types of things. So then you start, the money starts coming in. I'm piecing together income. But now, flash forward 2 years later, I've been to Germany, I've been to Australia, I've been to London. I never would have imagined ever, like, going to Cologne, Germany.
And my guess is you're probably able to spend a whole lot more time with those little girls.
And I'm spending more time than I ever would have with my kids. It's insane. Like,
You're the only daddy at the field trip.
Here's the thing. I feel like there are a lot of people are either, I don't know if working from home is a new thing, but I feel like there's a lot of, so I do see a few dads out there, but at the soccer games, but I work from home now. I'm with my kids when they get up in the morning to when they come home from school. I'm at every soccer practice or every soccer game. Like, it's insane the difference in my life and the quality of life. And I'm not a
I want you to dive into this because, and especially with you, the fact that you said that, like, you're not a millionaire, but you're making enough, and it's not just the fact that, like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, because that's the fad right now, is like, oh, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. I put a sticker on a shirt. Oh, right. Okay. What are your sales, dude? Like, you know what I mean? The market's gonna tell us if you're an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? And so, like, how has it affected not only your professional career and your personal happiness? How has it just dramatically affected your home life, just in general, like over the big picture, home life, from being in corporate America and making that jump and fighting through those inner battles to now over the last 2 years, your home life?
It's the weirdest thing. Like, it's all I ever wanted to do was to be around more and still make money. And I've accomplished that. Like, after I left, I struggled to think that I would make the same amount I was making in corporate America. And now I'm making more. Mm-hmm. And so to think that I was able to do that is blows my mind. But on top of that, I'm able to spend all my time with my family. I think I spoil them now being around, because now when I do travel, like, my kids,
you come back to like, why are there so many dishes?
Right, but my kids are always like, oh, you gotta go? You have to leave this house? Like, yeah, I gotta go. Like, sometimes
but you're not supposed to.
You're
just supposed to be here all the time.
So that's what my life is now, which is funny because I was never here. I had an hour commute to work, an hour commute home, on top of your 8, 9, 10-hour day. And, like, I was never home. I wasn't. I would barely make it home, and sometimes I wouldn't make it home for dinner. Kids are going to bed, and I barely got to see them. And I'm out early the next day. That lifestyle is insane.
Yep.
To me now, like, and to be able to be here now full time for them, it's meant everything. Like, to me, that's so. When it might not be the same for everyone, right? Because not everyone has kids, or
for sure,
some people are more into themselves, and they're like, yeah, I love my kids, but I want to. What makes me happy is to travel. So go out and travel, do your thing. But that's what makes me happy, is being around my family, being here for them. That's the definition for me of success. Not
that's amazing.
Private jets, or anything like that. Like, as long as I can pay my bills and we have money to do things that we want to do, and I'm home for them, I win.
No, that's perfect. And so what would you say is the value that this is going to yield in, say, another 10 years to the man that you're able to become, to the father you're able to be, to the spouse you're able to be, being able to have made that jump and dealt with, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't always easy, on the home front. Because,
still not. Yeah.
It's like, because that's a commitment. But I think when you're in the midst of doing that kind of the dual citizenship between pursuing yourself, living for yourself, and living for corporate America, like, you need to understand internally that there's an end point. Yeah. Like, it's not forever. I think everybody gets confused. Like, oh my gosh, it's forever. It's like, you realize you're only 25, dude. Like,
right.
What? Like, you haven't even started, kid.
Yeah. Yeah, Gary Vee talks about that all the time, right? Like, how much time do you have? And it hits home for me a lot when he mentions that, because, as you know, I'm 41 years old in a career change, and I'm 41. I never thought I'd be doing this, and it puts things into perspective. Yeah, you can try stuff out, mess around, try your different. You know, you want to be a photographer, cool. Try that out for 2 years.
Yep.
When you're 21. You fail at that, go be a chef for 2 years. Oh, you want to fail at that? That's cool. Try something else. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the value long term for me is not being the guy that, and this is always top of mind for me, not being the guy that's like, man, my daughter's 18 years old. My youngest is 18. She's going on to college. And I wasn't there for her first steps, or I wasn't there for her first this or that, or I missed every soccer game. To me, that's the value for me long term. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, to be able to say that I didn't really miss out on that. That, you know how the old school, like our old school parents, like missed everything because they worked 100 hours a week.
Why is your dad here? Isn't he supposed to be working?
Right, right. Like I'm on the opposite side of that. Like, I want to be the guy that's there, that's been there and got to hang out with them. Like I get to hang out with them all the time. Like there's nothing better than that. So. I think that's a value for me. And as long as I can do that and still pay the bills, that's the goal.
Love it. So money doesn't equal success.
No.
So
happiness.
Exactly. I love it. I'm so glad that I was able to get you on the call. Thank you so much for your time. I really want to make sure everybody can find you. So I know your Instagram. I know you have a website and everything. So kind of like let everybody know where they can find you, anywhere, everywhere.
So I don't know if you're putting like hyperlinks on this thing, but it's Ludwig Araujo on everything: Instagram, Twitter, my website, Snapchat, whatever. I'm on everything. Just my full name.
And so that's his name. Ludwig is so Ludwig. Last name is Araujo.
That's it.
Make sure you look him up.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Alrighty, thank you, Ludwig. It was a pleasure to speak with you, and I hope we helped change at least one person's life. You have a great one.
I hope so too, man. Thank you for bringing me on. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye. Take care, man.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the podcast. I know a bunch of you haven't subscribed yet. Also, don't forget to follow me on social. You can look me up. The Real Jeff Bill. Also on Instagram, we have our Blast Talks podcast page. Make sure you subscribe and follow both of those accounts to make sure you're staying up to date on the content, all that fun stuff. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.